Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, financial superheroes and wizards. Welcome to a Draftworx adventure, which will turn you into a compliant superhero. Today, we're rolling out the red carpet for the one and the only Draftworx XBRL. Now, picture this: your financial statements, sleek and precise, effortlessly transformed into an XBRL report that will make CIPC weep tears of joy. Gone are the days of stress and late-night coffee-fueled panics. With Draftworx, it's easy as a click, a smile, and a sigh of relief, and you'll have your XBRL file ready in no time. So grab your popcorn or coffee, turn up your volume, and get ready to dive into a session that will be fun, enlightening, and together we'll decode the mysteries of XBRL and show you why Draftworx is your ultimate wingman in the world of financial reporting. Now, in today's Adventure Thursday, we have the following stars. Armand has joined us again. He is the lead developer of Draftworx Desktop, and as you know him from the previous webinar, he is the man, the myth, and the legend. That's Armand. Thanks for joining us, Armand.
Thanks for the wonderful round of applause as well.
It's a pleasure. And he has brought with him his protege, and his name is OJ. He's a rare gem. Please meet our mastermind in not just programming, but also finance. OJ is in a league of his own. He has slayed this XBRL beast and created an easy way for us all to do these XBRL conversions. Thank you so much for joining us today, OJ.
Thanks, Clarissa. I'm excited to be here today, and I'm looking forward to the cool improvements and features we will still bring to XBRL throughout the year. And I also just want to say thanks for everyone's great feedback so far. It really helps us improve our product. Thanks.
Thank you so much, OJ. And OJ is correct. The only way that we know when we should improve something is when we do get client feedback, and we thrive on that. So please keep that going. We would also like to just thank the whole development team, not just OJ and Armand. We are a team in this. Just thank you everybody for their hard work, dedication, and continuous improvement of Draftworx. Next in our lineup, I would like to introduce Christu, the courageous, crushing XBRL in the cloud. Thank you so much for joining us. As you know, Christu is the cloud legend. He will be showing you how to do cloud XBRL conversions a little bit later. Next, we have a very special guest appearance, and she is back due to popular demand, the magical Matsebo. Hello. And then last but not least, she's been having so much fun on these webinars. We simply could not get rid of her. The sweet and sassy Nicole is here again. We did have quite an introduction now, but I believe everybody is ready for their session. So we will move on and start talking about XBRL. Thank you so much. What will we be learning about today? What is XBRL? There's a lot of you that are very new to the software, doing XBRLs in the software. Who should be submitting XBRLs to CIPC, and how Draftworx has made it super easy, including examples on desktop and cloud. And then we'll have some closing remarks and answer some Q&A if there is anything. We will be distributing this specific PDF document to you after the session. So I'm not going to read it word by word, but this is something that you can simply have a look at if you do want some more background. Most of you should already know that XBRL stands for Extensible Business Reporting Language. And it is basically just a digital report that gets submitted to CIPC to ensure that there are no finger faults, etc., when capturing your data. So it is fully digital and computer readable. I'm going to just skip over some of these. Right. We did bring in some new terminology during last year's session. It's just listed on here still. If you do hear me talk about context, hierarchy, or dimensions, it's just a way of telling you in which section we are busy, but this will be discussed with examples. Now, who should actually be submitting XBRL files to CIPC? If it's an audited financial statement, voluntarily audited financial statements, state-owned companies, public listed companies, and then, of course, public interest score of over 500 for 2 of the preceding 5 years. You'll also have to submit for that, and in some case reviews. We do have a very easy compliance checklist that you can use inside of Draftworx just to ensure that you should actually be doing an XBRL file. In some cases, the result will come up and it will talk about an FAS. This is a very smaller supplement document that you can just fill in online, and then you don't even bother going and making an XBRL conversion. I would always suggest, if you can do an FAS, you could rather do that online. We have had a lot of questions about the public interest score. I have just set out the 4 things below that are included in the public interest score. And I just want to touch very lightly on this. There are, like I say, many questions around it. So it's your average number of employees, third-party liabilities, turnover, and number of individuals who have a direct or indirect beneficial interest in this company. And you'll see I'm just explaining what these are. I'm going to skip over average number of employees, which is quite straightforward. The third-party liabilities is something you can go and have a closer look at if you are ever unsure. This is not the only things that are counted, but these are very good examples if you are unsure. And a lot of people ask, why is there a difference between revenue and turnover? So revenue is your income that you receive inside of your financials at the top, and turnover is the amount that gets submitted to CIPC. Now, turnover is the revenue amount, and then you deduct any income that is received from activities outside of South Africa. So turnover equals only amounts received within South Africa. The number of individuals with beneficial interest, that's anybody that pulls or gets, benefits from the company itself. So I hope you're ready to get started. I'm just going to share my screen, my other screen, my Draftworx screen. And we
I see. Thank you so much for that PI score though. It's always such a little beast, especially when you've got such crucial documents and things you need to make key decisions on, and of course the XBRL. So cannot wait to go break down your notes once this is done.
Thank you so much. Yes, I wanted to share that just to ensure that everybody feels a little bit more comfortable. Can you see my screen, my Draftworx screen?
We can see.
Okay, thank you so much.
So Clarissa, if I may, if I'm doing a normal set of financial statements on Draftworx, right, and I'm using my Plus templates, okay, or the Plus financials as we know them, how is Draftworx actually going to be able to help me with my XBRL?
So we have gone and we have pre-tagged as much as possible for our users. So when you use Financials Plus, when you use Financials Plus, this is our most automated XBRL file that we do have available. We have tagged as much as we can, and that's why I'm also wanting to start with this. This will require minimal input for you to get the XBRL file going. When I open this file, or you open this file, you will already know that everything's been completed, the client setup, the financials have been done. There's a working TB that's finalized inside this file. And what we do need to do is we need to actually move to the XBRL. Now, before we get stuck into that, I just want to explain what you are seeing on this drop-down menu. The XBRL tagging is what we're going to do next. That's the full tagging screen. We do have a requirement survey. You will see that popping up the first time that I enter the XBRL tagging screen. But if you have already made it disappear, you can always restart it from here. If you have a XBRL document saved in a folder and you're not sure whether this is your latest one and if it's the one that is completely validated, you can select this and find a random file outside of this company, and you can just validate that before you use it. There's a little bit of an extra. Then we have, I'm going to jump first to the questionnaire. We have a questionnaire. This can be sent to either the person that did the actual financials. So if you're in the secretarial part and you want the auditor to fill this out, or the client, then you can send this to them. It's downloadable in Excel. They can fill in their details everywhere where it's yellow. And the public interest score is also available here. So this is a nice thing to use should you need to acquire information from someone else. And once you do get this, you're not going to have to type it out. There is a little import questionnaire button, and it will import the data from the questionnaire into the XBRL page. Then we've got the compliance checklist. When you do submit to CIPC, you will get questions about, do you comply with section 4, 15, 26, 27? We had this as a client request. We've set up the document to have a little summary here. And on the next tab is all of these questions elaborated. So here you can't really see what it's about. If you do need to complete this, please jump here. This is the solvency and liquidity test. You have a little drop down. If you say yes, there, let's just make both of these yes. This will change to yes. And if you do that for all of the questions, we're not going to run through them all. You can just jump to the summary page, and that will tell you how to answer these questions very quickly. It's just a little bit of a helpful tool. I'm going to start the XBRL file now. This is our requirement test that I was talking about. I am going to go all the way to the end just to show you what the different options are that will be displayed. So if you're unsure about a file, please do use this. It is made to help you. So this is a private company, and it will tell you we need more information. Does the MOI require an audit? No, it does actually not. Oh, we still need more info. Are the fiduciary capacity assets more than 5 million? No, they are not. And it will take you to the last little tabs. And on here, if I set the public interest score to 10, and I say this was externally compiled and it is a review, you will see that now you have an option. You can do the CIPC XBRL conversion load, or you can do the FAS on CIPC site without going through with the whole, what do you call it, conversion, sorry. I'm going to jump back. Actually, let's first just show you. Let's say there's nothing expected of you. Oh, sorry, never mind. Okay, if I just say the MOI is requiring an audit, you will see the submission is required, and to ensure that the statements does contain an audit report. I'm going to click finish and it won't pop up again. That is why it's on the little drop down that I've showed you before. Now, because we filled in the client setup before, you'll see that there are quite a few green lines and then there are pink lines showing on this screen. We need to pay special attention to the pink lines. I just want to first show you the tools at the top. There's the import completed questionnaire that I just talked about. Should I import this? Some of these questions will already have answers as well, and you will have to do even less to convert this file. I am going to start at the top. There's 3 columns. We're talking about tagged, mandatory, and dimensions. Tagged means this has been tagged. If you need to untag it for any reason, if you click on this little circle, it will give you the option. I don't want to untag at this stage. Mandatory means there has to be something that gets filled in for this specific line item. You'll see we are filtered to mandatory. If I take that off, you'll see there's 1,400 tags. If I put this back on, it's going to be 97 tags. So we do filter it out for you to make sure you only do what you have to. Right, the customer code is the one that you use to log into CIPC. If you're unsure, you might have to get this from the person that logs the actual files onto CIPC. Now we get to the public interest score. So I'm going to try to do this from the top to the bottom. You can see these two, the maximum beneficial interests and the average number of employees I've pulled in. That's because we actually want you to fill this in by hand. So if I go to the public interest score, this little page selection that we have here, then you can see they have filled it in already. And at the top, it says the score is 68. I'm going to jump back. I did take a little bit of a snip just to know what amount should be added in. So I'm going to just enter what I had on the previous page. You're basically confirming that you're happy with how it was calculated. And the 68 is already pulling through from the public interest score section. Now, date of audit. So you'll see we are going to fill in a few dates. The year end of this file is February 2025. It's just good to note that your audit should be done on the same day or before the sign off of the financials. So they're not looking specifically, and I know you can't do an audit in one day, and they're kind of asking you to pick just one day. But it's almost impossible. Just as long as you have your year end, and after that you have your date of audit, and then on that same day or later, then you have when it got published. It needs to at least make sense date-wise. You can't do the audit before the financial year end. Then you will get an error and the file will not actually validate. So I'm going to say 13 March 2025. We go a bit into the future. I'll put my own email address in here. The next step is the type of company. Domestic private company. Just going to scroll down a little bit. Is the postal and the business address the same? In most cases, it might not be. Either true or false. You'll know the client better than I do. The nature of the financials is very limited. So it's basically annual financial statements, or consolidated annual financial statements. So I always just use this. Okay, there you can see my year end is February. The publication date, I'm just going to pretend we did it very fast. We got it audited, signed, everything in one day. The type of assurance, if you've got an audit report, you can select audited. Then we've got Jane Poppins, and she is a CA. Basically, they're asking what her designation is. So she's a CA-SA. And we've put that at the very top of this for easy access, because when you are doing an XBRL file, it would probably be an audited file, and most likely the person that is responsible will be a CA. The next three questions are declaration questions. Is this report present in the financials? I'm not going to go open the financials and jump up and down, but I do know we've got an audit report. I do know we've got a director's report present. And then I know that the director actually signed the financials. And just note here that when you do the conversion, you're not doing it on a signed set of financials. When these things go to CIPC, we strip out everything, image or color related. So there'll never be a signature that goes through to them. And that's why you confirm it here. Just going to scroll down a little bit further till we get pink again. Here you can see is a 0. There's a 0 and there's a 0. So these had been tagged on the financial statements, but there literally is no other comprehensive income. So we need to use footnotes. I'm going to say under this footnote that there was none. You can write something very nice in there yourself if you do your submissions and you need to do that. This is other comprehensive income as well. And I'm sure you saw that as I click on the word, it just brought the none down because these two are connected. So it already filled it in for me because I have indicated here that I agree that there's none. When you look at this cash flow on the file that I do have, you will note that there's no investment activities. I'm just going to say none as well. You're welcome to type in whatever you like. There must just be something indicating that you agree. And now, like magic, everything here is green. How easy was that? This means we're ready to actually go to the financial statements and to attempt to do a validation to make sure that we can submit to CIPC. Now, I do need to show you how to do this because there are steps to follow. So there's a little XBRL. This is the preview section of Draftworx. You should know that well enough. And this falls under the preview, but it's the XBRL preview. So I'm going to press this. Should there be something that's not filled in on Draftworx, on this left-hand side, there will be a section that shows you other comprehensive income was not completed, prior or current. So we'll indicate to you if it's in the prior or the current year where there's information missing, and you will see it here and already just cancel and not move on. And just for the sake of it, I'm going to say, yes, I want to validate, and then you will see what happens if we are unable to communicate to the CIPC website. It's going to think about it. It's going to try really, really, really hard to validate, and then it's going to complain. So let's just give that a second. I don't think this pop-up is actually showing on your side, but on my side it says error encountered, unable to connect to the remote server, which is the CIPC server. So I'm just going to click on OK. And unfortunately, as I said, we are unable to validate right now. But the very next thing that you need to have a look at is on the screen, you export your XBRL document. I'm going to first do that, Shane, and then I'll call you. So export your XBRL document. I'm going to select it here. And I want to actually just show you what that document looks like. So I've saved it out. Once CIPC is back up and running and I'm sure that everything validated, that is where the file will be, where I saved it now under my folder. If I can quickly scroll down, and I don't want to make you seasick, but this is what the financial looks like. When you print it, it looks exactly like normal. You'll just see that there's a version of Draftworx pulling through at the bottom. What I want to get to is the annexure at the bottom. There you go. Sorry, the appendix. This is the information that's being pulled through to CIPC. And the idea is that these are machine readable and will be logged on their system, but they also have at the top your full financials. If they want to query something, we said that there is no investing activities on the cash flow. They can scroll to the cash flow and they can just make sure that there was no investing activities, which you can see here is a 0. We've pulled this off of the prior selection that we've had, just to show you what it's supposed to look like. If you look at the third line item, it says 53 validated facts, 0 errors and 0 warnings. If there is an error or a warning, the errors will also always be at the top, and that would be followed by the warnings, and then will follow the validated amounts. So you can see right at the top here, there's nothing askew. The little line also tells you that when you have this validation file in Draftworx, you do the save to desktop like I did, wherever you want to save that to, and then you upload to CIPC. So this is ultimately what you're striving for.
So that was actually quite cool because effectively, you know, Draftworx is just automating things in such an effective manner for us. So it's actually going to save us that time, those reckless, sleepless nights. I mean, I'm super impressed. I love it. This is why Draftworx is as awesome as it is. But now, see, what's going to actually happen is if, like, you know, I'm one of those that started with Draftworx years ago and I'm still using legacy, you know how it goes. Am I still able to do the exact same that we've just seen with the Plus with my legacy, or have I got a few other things I need to consider?
So we can still help you if you're using legacy. There'll be slightly more input line items. We did automate this as much as we can actually automate it. It's going to be very much the same as what we've just done. We want to get rid of the red lines, and you will note that there are quite a few more than what you're used to. So I'm going to go to the XBRL section now. And we'll have our little requirement survey pop up. For this one, I'm just going to say yes. Yes, we do need to do an audit. It will just say that. You can skip this, but it'll keep popping up. So you can just get it out of the way. It doesn't literally pull anything out to, you know, into the file. This is literally just to help you decide. I don't think this pop-up is actually showing, and that's why it's hanging here now. It says here that we need to pick the financial statements that we want to use, and then it's going to show you the financials, the English set and the Afrikaans set. Nicole, are you able to see that, or is that pop-up not showing?
No, Clarissa, I can see the pop-up, and then I can see that I've got my options with the English and the Afrikaans.
Okay,
Thanks.
thank you. So we're going to select the English set. That was what I was looking at. And this is telling Draftworx which file it needs to read the information from. So that's a little extra step in Legacy that you'll note. Fantastic. Now, you'll see there's just slightly more pink lines than what we had before. And I will just jump right in and start to complete this. But I'm gonna share a little other trick with you. So I'll just add that. We have the same here. So the public interest score is again on the same place. I've kept it the same. I'm going to just add the third party and the turnover. Remember that this is something you need to calculate on your own. So support is not able to help you with that. We don't know what's going on in the back of the file, whether this or that is third party, or whether all the income is from within South Africa, and if anything needs to be deducted. So they will not be able to actually share with you how to add the numbering here. I think I did that. All right, default audit. I think we'll stick to 13 March. And the email address, I will just add mine again. Type of company, still domestic private company. And we'll get to the interesting part just now. I'm going to say false for the address again. We'll do 13 March as the publication, type of assurance audited. You'll see this doesn't pull through now, the naming. Just add a name there. Ellie is also a CASA. And we are again just saying, yes, we do have all of these reports present in our financials. And I'm scrolling down again a little bit. You'll see that we've got all three of these again showing pink, or as the devs call it, salmon, as well as the name of the auditor. So I'm going to first do the name of the auditor. Please be reminded that CIPC has indicated it's not necessarily going to be an audit firm's name. It's supposed actually to be the person that is actually signing. So we'll just call him Joe Slow. And I would like to show you how to complete these footnotes in the actual financial statements, because there's more than one way to tag in Draftworx. I'm going to open the financial statements. There we go. And if you look at the top right of the screen, I'm just going to do this. It says XBRL next to sign off. So I'm going to go there and I'm going to click on the tagging button. It will open up basically the same information as what you get on the full page, but it's going to have the financials next to it. Interesting enough, everything that's pink is actually pre-tagged for you. So you can see we've pre-tagged pretty much everything for you. And if you have this link sheet views on, you will see that I'm jumping to the balance sheet, and this line item here is indicating where we are. If I go to the drop down, you'll see that we've split it up into sections. So the ones that we're still shorting is under the income statement. We've got here TMD as well, tagged, mandatory, and dimensions. I like to go to mandatory and just filter it out as true. And you'll see other comprehensive income is here. If I double click on it, it takes me to where that is actually tagged. Sorry, didn't jump nicely. There we go. My screen is a tiny bit made smaller, so it didn't show nicely. But you can see if you double tap, it's coming through here as a 0. So there's two things here. Firstly, the line item is not printing. So even if this had an amount and it wasn't printing, it would not allow me to do anything without typing in the amount. And because it is a 0, even if it was printing, I would have to put a footnote. We have added this little section. I'm just going to do it twice to make sure you see where I'm clicking. 4 out of 4 tagged. There's a little triangle head down here. And if I open that, I can see the implied value. That means this is the value that we submit to CIPC is 0. But because this line is not printing, we do need a footnote. And I would again do the manual override to make sure the 0 is going to go through. And then whatever you need to type to just confirm, you will type that there. And you'll see already up here, it's gone green. So you don't have to come and check why this is a pink line. You can simply stay on your financials, double click, find where it is, and then sort it out. Then I know the next one is on the cash flow. It does remember the mandatory tick mark that I've made. This is the investing activities. I'm going to do this again. I double click. It jumped right down to the investment activities, which is printing. You can see it's not a blue line, but it's still a 0. So instead of now going back to this XBRL tagging screen, I'm just going to open the panel up at the bottom. It is an implied value. It is printing, so I don't have to use the manual override, but I do need to add a footnote just to say, listen guys, I know this is a 0 and I'm confirming that it is correct. And you will see that it is now also green. If we now save and jump back, it's important to always say yes. When you go from the financials back to the XBRL screen, you do want to save what you've tagged and pull them through to this sheet. Otherwise, it will not pull in and your validation will fail. And I think you can all agree doing this on legacy financials is really not a lot more work than doing it on the Financials Plus. Matsebo has prepared something for us. Matsebo, you're welcome to share your screen.
Thank you, C, and welcome to everyone who's here today. So the little tips that I have today, unfortunately, we just don't have, CIPC has issues on the side, but I will just show you a few tips in terms of just checking and I would say reviewing as well, just to make sure that everything has been calculated correctly on your XBRL, right? So I know a lot of us, we are used to the, I would call it the bigger XBRL tagging. I'll just hop onto it so you could see it's similar to what Clarissa was showing us all. But today I'm not going to work from that side. What I want to do, I'll just show you this extra option that we have, this tab of XBRL, and we have the XBRL tagging as well. So I'm just going to click on that. Just want to make sure that I have all of my items, all of my links appearing. So this is now me. I'm trying to check that, okay, before I validate the file, before I check if there's any issues or financial facts that are popping up, I just want to make sure that everything has been calculated correctly. So you could see that on my financial statements, everything is pink. So which means I'm good to go. It has been tagged. So now we have this side of the screen, right, where I have made sure that I'm on all. So it's going to drag everything that's pulling through. Now what I do, we have this little drop down here. It's the calculation, right? If everyone can see. So I'm just going to filter for the calculation. So if I filter them, and I see that, okay, I have correct calculation. I'm not worried about that. I'm not worried about no visible calculation items. What should be a worry to you is this incorrect calculation. So I'm just going to filter for incorrect calculation. Okay, I see now. I have total equity, and it's showing me which statement it is pulling from. And I have profit or loss from continuing operations. It's also showing me that it's pulling from my income statement. And I also have my statement of cash flow items that are pulling up this red or this pink items, and with a little I would say, yeah, and a little arrow sign there, an error, which is incorrect calculation. If I hover on top, incorrect calculation. So all of them are incorrect calculations. So now, if I'm going to start with my statement of financial position, I'm already here. So what I do, I'm just going to scroll down and I try to find exactly that tagline. So it's my total equity attributable to owners of parent. If I scroll down here, remember, if an item has been grayed out and there is no 1 on column B, it means that it's not printing. So it's not printing. And if I click on my incorrect calculation little icon there, it's telling me that I have an implied value of 0 because it's not pulling any information since it's not printing. And there's a difference of 6 million. So what I do, I'm going to close that pop-up and use the very same little box here, the tag info. And I'm just going to go into a manual override value. So I'm going to put in the 6,761,740. I'm just going to hover on there. And if you could just have a look now, I have cleared that triangle. So I'm going to do the same with profit from continuing operation, because these are the items that usually don't print. So I'm going to go to my statement of comprehensive income. If I scroll, if I'm in here and I look for that very same item, okay, it's telling me I have a difference of 5442, right? So I'm just going to sort it out. The same screen, the tech info screen, 5442, 537. And I have cleared that part. And I just need to make sure that I go back to all and I could see, okay, now I only have the statement of cash flow remaining that I need to solve out. Okay, cool. So if I come to my, I'll just start off with the easiest one, which is our net increase or decrease in cash and cash equivalent before effect of exchange rates. So which is this amount here. So always go to your little icon, that danger icon, and it's telling me that I have a difference of 1.7, but the implied value is 0. But I know that this is not 0, and I'm going to do the same thing here, which is minus 1716,187. And if I just close there, that's resolved. So now the main issue that now we have is that I have my net cash flow, right? So I'm just going to quickly remove the link sheet so that it's easier. And let me just go there. And I'm going to remove the filter. Now I see everything that has been linked, and that's summing up to my net cash flow from or used in operating activities. So if I come to my net cash flow, I see, okay, fine. I know that I've tagged everything. Everything is pink, but I can see there's an implied value of 241, which is this 241 here. I can see that I have 241, but there's a difference of 8,462. Which is basically this amount here, which is my total adjustments that I need to reconcile to profit. And hey, why is it showing that? Because it's tagged. And I was told that if it's not showing or if it's not printing, I can just go and input it. But remember, we can't input it on this part because these are all the total adjustments that will be appearing on my notes stream. Now, what do? I quickly go to my notes stream and I check here. Okay, fine. I have my profits. I can see these items are not in pink. So now let me just go line by line and make sure that everything that's supposed to be tagged and pulling up to my total adjustments is actually pulling and tagged. So I'll start with the income tax expense. And if I go here to my income tax expense, I see there is no tag. Remember, the T is for tag. So now I'm just going to quickly tag it. And if I go to my finance, adjustment for finance costs, which is this finance cost, the 2.7, okay, it's tagged, but why is it not sort of solving the issue? So I just quickly go here. Can you see now it's tagged somewhere on my cash flow, but then because I've opened my notes for cash flow from operating, now there's a summary on the other side, which is in the back end, and there's also the details on my note. So this is where I then need to just check, okay, it's tagging H42 on my cash flow, which is 0. So now, but that's not what I want because this is what I need to be tagged. So what I'm going to do, I am just going to take here. So remember, don't untag because you could decide later that I'm going to close this note so that everything shows up on my cash flow statement, which is something that would also pull the very same values. So if I go, I check here, now it's 2.7 that has been tagged. Okay, I'm comfortable with that. Next item, depreciation. If I scroll down, I go to depreciation, tag info again, there's nothing. And I am just gonna tag it. I go to my impairment. Where is my impairment? There it is. And same thing. So I am gonna tag it. And fair value gains, I have this fair value gains. Tag it. And I just scroll down. If I scroll down, I have my increase in inventories. I think I saw it somewhere here. This is my inventories. I'm going to tag it. And if I go to my other operating receivables, let's see, this is trade and accounts payables. I need other receivables. This is operating receivables, and I am going to tag it. And if I go to my trade accounts payable, which is this, yeah, this is my trade accounts payables, tag it also. If I scroll down, okay, now I'm done with that tagging, but I still have the little red item, incorrect calculation. So if I just scroll on that, so I click on it and I see, okay, there is this amount, 8462055. So now remember, if we go back to our cash flow statement, this total adjustment, it's not printing. So this is the part where I would then easily go here and then I am going to type it in, 8462055. And if I go in there, now I have resolved that part, right? And now I'm just going to check, okay, fine, let me check now. Is everything resolved? There we are. I have no difference and everything has been resolved. And I'm just going to quickly unfilter and I'm just going to make sure that we are on all the items. And if I check here, I no longer have my incorrect calculation. So once you're done with this and you've resolved everything that has any incorrect calculation, then you can go to your format and then you can run the XBRL screen and also validate your file. So that's it from me, C. I'm not sure if I forgot anything else, any tips?
No, you are absolutely fabulous. Thank you so
All right.
much. Everyone, please remember, as always, we are doing a recording of this session. I did see a few people asking about that. We are doing a recording. This will go on to YouTube and we are adding little timestamps. It takes us a couple of days, but we do add timestamps so that you can easily locate whichever conversion type tickles your fancy. Should it be Financials Plus, Legacy Financials, Excel, Manual Financials, or the cloud version. So that will be available. Don't worry about that. And you will also receive a copy of that PDF I used at the start with your certificate. I will just ask Shane to attach that for you. I see, Shane, you have shared this validation report. So folks, this is last year's validation report, 53 validated facts, 0 errors, 0 warnings, and this is ultimately your best case scenario. Please remember, they do accept warnings. So, and if you hit an error for CIPC with upload, it will reject that upload. If you have warnings, it will be accepted, but this is your goal. If you can get everything validated, that's absolutely fantastic.
Larissa, you mentioned something interesting now, the Excel financials. So what happens if I have a case where, you know, I get a client, this is the first year they're using Draftworx, but for some reason they're like 3 years behind in submitting their XBRLs, okay? Would I now have to go through the whole trouble of going and setting up all those 3 years and redoing the financials just so I'd be able to convert to XBRL? Or have you got another awesome tip for us to see?
So you will definitely not have to capture your whole financial again on Draftworx. You would preferably do the newest one though, which is fantastic because you can then really easily get it through and tagged and rolled into an XBRL file. But fear not, we do have you covered with this as well. We call it manual XBRL tagging or non-Draftworx. You'll see on the very first file that I've opened, I showed you that we had a TB in. This one, in fact, has no trial balance inside. And if I go to financial data, you'll see this is my financials for Draftworx. It's not going to help if I go into that. So I'm going to close the TB. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Office Tools, Import File, and I received this PDF financials from my clients. I've used one of the tools that you can use. There's various types to just convert that into an Excel file. So I'm going to select that file. Here, it's asking me where I want to save. So I'm going to put it under financial data. That's where it's supposed to go. I'm just going to let it be called financial statements, and I'm going to import them into this file. So please note, all these amounts have been typed in by hand. This is a full Excel financial. And this is how it looks. You can see there's no formulas. If you have a look at the live preview, I only put in 1 year. We don't really have to do another one. And as long as you have it like this, you can check on a different file. You can add the little same tabs in Excel so that you know where you are. And we are going to be doing this one from scratch. I'm going to open the XBRL tagging the larger screen. It's going to ask me the same question again. I'm just going to take the shortcut and finish there. And again, it's going to ask me, but we see there's more than one financial. Which one are you wanting to pull from? Then I have to tell it this financial statements 2025, select. So it's pretty much on standard till now with what we do on the legacy. But now you'll see, oh dear, some of these are green. And you know, we're not actually using this file for anything. So what you would need to do in this case is go to Tools at the top left of your screen and untag all. Current and prior year, you untag absolutely everything. Draftworx, unfortunately, can't pull in anything else because this is a non-Draftworx financial. You'll see the software name and software version remains because that always is the same, but everything else is pink. Now, don't get panicked. We can do this quite quick and easily. I am going to start at the top as I did before and put in the same data, ABC123 for customer code. Let's see. This will be my hypothetical registration number, and Mary Poppins was responsible for the compliance. And because I know what the PI score is, because it is on this little tab, assuming that it's the same for this file, we are going to just have to type in everything by hand for this one, because it won't pull through anything. 15473, again 4, and this time I'll have to add the 68 by hand. I hope you're already feeling a little bit more comfortable. We've done this now twice. I'm just running through it like a third time with a few extras. These ones, these 3, they usually get tagged by themselves because you'll have your audit report in there already. So we'll say, this is not independently compiled, this is not internally, but it is audited. So you can tick audited and internally compiled. CIPC will accept that. But as soon as you go to this tick mark, it will have to be false for the others. Okay, so we're going to just use audited. That's the most used. As I said, if it's an audited set, you have to do XBRL. So most likely you will have an audit report. I'm going to have them sign off again on the 13th. They're quite busy. They have their third set of financials done on the same day and signed off. Oopsie. Principal place of business. This one you haven't had to complete before. This, they want the actual full address. So I'm going to call it 1 Popcorn Street, let's say, Sandton, Johannesburg, and the street code. You have to put in the entire address here. You can't say Johannesburg or just Sandton. They actually want to know where the business is located. Description of nature of entities operations. Now, when you do normal financials, you would usually type in the description of what the entity is doing. So I'm just going to say, because it's not captured anywhere else, selling sweet dreams and popcorn. And this is what they make their money from. The full registered name, just going to call this Manual Pty Limited, because I can't think of anything else funner right now. Then domestic private company. You will obviously have to just make sure what your company is, though. I'm going to scroll down a little bit. We're just manually inputting the data that you would have manually inputted into client setup. So we're just doing it here instead. So this is 1 Popcorn Lane or street. The postal code, and I don't know why they don't put this in order. It really bugs my brain, but there it is. City, Johannesburg. Country, South Africa. So these would all have been auto-filled in on Legacy and Financials Plus. The postal address is different than the business address. I mean, it could be the same. The nature of financials, it's again annual financial statements. Date of end of reporting period. This is usually auto-filled in. It is now. You have to select your year-end date. So that's end Feb. Period covered by the financial statements. You have to actually elaborate on that. You can't just say 2024-5. You have to say 1 March 2024 till 28 2025. You can make a little dash there if they just basically want to know, because some financials, it might be the first year and this might not be 12 months, etc. Description of presentation currency, South African rands. There's a nice little shortcut, well, let's call it a shortcut, not a cheat. A little bit of a shortcut. If you open a different file like Financials Plus, if you can't quite remember the first or the second time, these will be pulling from your client setup, and you can just come and make sure what they are if you have forgotten, like level of rounding. If there's no rounding on the financials and everything is full, there's no little comma 000 with the rand value, then it's going to be decimals. And that's also our default setting. Again, they've published on the 13th of March. The type of assurance is audited. Go to Ellie Smelly again. And she is, of course, an CASA. And the report presents, easy peasy, lemon squeezy. All of them are true. Now we get to the amounts. Oh dear. Nothing here is filled in. Don't fret. We're going to add Joe Slow for now as the auditor. And then we're going to open up the financials and we're going to use that little shortcut to get the tagging done. XBRL tagging. And here you go. I'm going to set up, as always, mandatory financials tags. It's going to filter them out. I love using this link sheet views. It's going to limit me to whatever is needed to be tagged on the specific page. So it's going to make our lives a lot easier. Cash and cash equivalents. I can read it from here. It's the 877,000. And you just click on tag there. And if I move off of it, you'll see it's gone green. If you've made a mistake, no worries. Click untag. Current only, all cells. You can select whatever you need from here. And we do an untag, and you'll see it goes back to red or pink or salmon, whatever you'd like to call it. And I have to tag it again. So the little pink went away. I'm going to go cash and cash equivalents again. Next up is total assets, total equity. And now they have caught us out. We need to look at the total liabilities, but doop, doop, doop. Unfortunately, there's no total liabilities. It's split between non-current and current. Now, what do we do now? Well, you're not allowed to edit the financials. So stand on total liabilities and tag both of them. We will add them up and you will have the total amount summed, 28 million. How easy is that? Total equity and liabilities, 52. And you're already done with this one page. I'm sure you can agree that's not painful at all. We're going to jump to the comprehensive income. You can see there's just a little bit of data as well being looked for. Going to do revenue. Profit or loss before tax. Oh, they made 5 million profit and they didn't have to pay tax. Wow. Very fortunate, or they can lie very well, but be that as it may, I'm going to tag the tax as 0 and the profit loss after tax 5.6 million. And I see, oh dear, taxation is still in red. Is this because they are lying? No, it's not. It's because it's a 0 and it's printing. So we are going to just add here, let's see, they didn't want to pay tax this year. So we're explaining what happened. It's not my fault, it's the client's. They didn't want to pay the tax, and I've confirmed that it is a 0. Other comprehensive income, you'll see on here, there is no other comprehensive income. This will be the case of most cases. It happens a lot less frequently that there is no other comprehensive than when there is. Again, I don't have to jump back to this full XBRL screen. I can very easily go to manual override value, put in a 0 because there's none, and then just say none on this little block. And as easy as that, total comprehensive income, tag there, and we have everything green for comprehensive income. Then let's go to equity. Again, this little link sheet views, totally awesome. It's going to just filter out anything that I actually need to focus on. And as Taf also showed, there are other ways to find calculations that are not balancing. So total increase or decrease in equity, it's going to be this 5 million. I'm going to just tag that for you, and we'll jump to the cash flow. Wow, that has gone so fast. Let's see what the cash flow holds in for us. So operating activities, I can see that here it's 20 million. I'll tag that. Investing activities. Oh dear. So no investing activities. Just financing and operations. They don't like paying tax. They don't like investing. I'm going to add a 0 under manual override. Add none. And that will go green. Now we're looking at financing. There's 9 million tagged. And then, of course, increase and decrease in cash and cash equivalents. Tag that. And then we see it. Guys, this row has not gone and stayed green. No problem. We give you a little incorrect calculation heads up. You can open that right up. And we tell you literally, these are the things that count up to what you're looking for. And the submission value is 20 million, but we're only tagging 5 million. Now, here is where you decide what you want to do. CIPC will let you submit this, and you will get a warning at the top of your validation documentation. And when you upload to CIPC's site, it will get validated with warnings. That's the wording that they will give you. The warning means that to get to this, we don't know what everything is that you calculated to get up to here. So this is actually very, very easy to do. Obviously, I've done this before the session, so I know exactly what needs to be added up. And I'm going to show you that now. At the bottom left, if I highlight certain cells, at the bottom left, there's an auto sum, 15.159,570. I'm going to make that yellow. All right, 15,159,570. And that is exactly what I'm actually out with. So I have indicated in yellow to you what is not tagged. I am going to clear this out and just scroll to that line item. Oh, sorry. Let's do that. Make it a bit less to scroll through. There you go. Also, it will show as an incorrect calculation. As Matsebo was showing earlier, there's many ways to get to the same answer. So what we want to do, I don't actually want to have that in there. Okay. What I want to show you is this little indent that we have here. I'm sure you can see between dividends paid and total adjustments, there's an indent. If I click on this incorrect calculation, dividends paid, received, etc., etc., up to other inflows, it is, let me close that. It's here until here. And these need to count up the 15.9 million. Now, in this case, I'm just going to click on here and I'm going to under the other inflows, I'm just going to select these under that to show you how it will come out. We're basically telling them, well, this is how I got to the 20 million. So it is actually correct. And there you can see the 15,159,570. And that is what we had here as well. And all of those cells are now pink. You will only actually tag here what is really needed to be tagged. Like the other financials where there's a bunch of things tagged that don't get used, you'll only do what you do need to do. I'm not sure how long that took me, but I'm going to save. And I'm going to jump back to the financials. Please remember to always say yes when the pop-up comes to save, when you go back to the main screen. And if I move around, you'll see, oh, there's only one pink line item left, and it's the approval of the financials date. And we will make that 13 March again. And there you go. Everything is green. Go back to your financial statements, XBRL. It's going to ask, do you want to validate? You'll notice that we don't have anything on the left. That means that we've done enough. I'm just quickly going to do a quick look if XBRL is maybe back up. It is unfortunately not. So I'm not going to do the validation. I'll just say no. And you export your XBRL document once again, just using this button, save it where you need it. And I will show you what this pulls up as. You'll see it's just the full financial that I have. It's not as pretty as Draftworx financial, but CIPC doesn't worry about pretty. They only want to be able to read. So you will edit on your Excel just to make it readable. You'll notice here on my paragraphs, on the director's report, it is not justified. That's okay. CIPC doesn't care. If they want to bring up your financial and read something on it, they can read that you've talked about COVID, and then they are happy. So just make sure when you do this on an Excel file, everything is readable. Nothing should fall off the sides of this preview. If something does, you need to move it up a little bit. But that is how easy it is to do XBRL for non-Draftworx financials.
That's absolutely amazing, Clarissa. Seriously. I mean, that didn't take you too long at all. I know it was a small set of financials, but still, that's just incredible.
That's right. And you can have your clients pay a fee for you to just catch up on these outdated financial statements. And yes, get them done in a jiff.
And help them maintain their compliance. What an awesome trick.
Yes, we absolutely love it. Shane, if you can maybe just share the non-Draftworx validation screen for us, please.
Okay, sure, will do. Just got to get to the right slide.
No worries. So next up, after Shane has showed this off, we are going to travel up to the cloud. And I just want to hear a little bit of noise from Christo. Are you still there? Have you fallen asleep on me?
What up, C? I'm ready to
Hey,
rumble.
that's awesome.
He didn't run.
No, he didn't
No.
run. He came back. I'm so happy. That means my voice will rest in a few minutes. Guys, the validation for this non-Draftworx file, the Excel one, the validation is going to look 100% similar. It's going to say validated everywhere. Should I have not done that extra bit where I marked the extra cells for the 15 million, there would have been a warning, one warning at the top. CIPC would have accepted it, but it was so easy to clear. That's why I did it. And then it will be a full validation. I would like to just welcome Christo. Christo, you can share your screen. Christo is
Awesome.
going
Thanks so much, C.
to show how effortlessly it is to do an XBRL conversion in Draftworx Cloud. Thank you so much.
Perfect. We're going to do what Clarissa just did a bunch of times for us, and we're essentially just going to do it on the cloud. So the process is very similar, guys. Really not, really not very different at all. Make sure that everything in your client setup is complete. Make sure that your financials are complete. Specifically, status, everything 0, everything's signed off. You've completed these financials. We're not going back. This has now been signed off. From there, once you're happy with all of your sign-offs, we're going to go to XBRL at the top here, and we're just going to hit the XBRL submission. Very simply, it's going to pop open, and very similar to desktop, we start off with the requirements determination just to check, is XBRL actually supposed to be done on this file? So a few simple things. You'll see there's got little drop downs over here where you can select things. Here it's going to allow me to figure out, should I be doing XBRL or not, which is actually one of the biggest questions with XBRL, because oftentimes people think, oh, I need to do XBRL, and you don't have to. If you don't have to, don't do it. You're just going to save yourself time. It's a lot easier if you don't have to do it. But you'll see there's a few options here. So for example, if I choose non-profit organization, it's immediately going to tell me, listen, don't even bother with XBRL, it's not allowed. Let's go and do a private company. And a private company, it then pops open the next question. So the next question says, does the MOI require an audit? Where I can go and say yes, no. So if I were to say yes, it's going to say, cool, you have to then do XBRL. If I say no, then it goes on, okay. Essentially, it goes on through a list of items that I can answer on my side. So the PI score calculation, I can go and type in over here if I know it. We do have a calculator under documents. If you go into public interest score, you can go and check your calculations there and essentially go and figure out if you've done the right calculation. Very simple bunch of cells over here. So we can say type of entity, private company, and we're going to say, is it compiled independently internally? And then we can go and put in a few of the basic things. Now, to calculate the PI score, we need these 4 items. We need to figure out the average number of employees. So we're going to keep it simple today. We're going to say 100. Third-party liabilities, we're going to say, well, let's make that 1 million. And we're going to go to our turnover during the year. And I am just going to type in a number there, and then the number of people with direct or indirect beneficial interest. And we'll end up with a PI score. So 116, that's what I've calculated here. There are some additional questions here. This is actually if you want to make sure if you have to do an audit or not. I can go and tick yes or no. And it's also going to tell me essentially if I have to do full IFRS or IFRS SME. You can see at the bottom here, it gives me a little conclusion. Public interest score, engagement type required, audit, and then I can use IFRS SME or I can use full IFRS. If I change this, you can see the differences pop up. So a useful little cell that or little sheet that we created there for you. Going back into my XBRL submission. As I said, I can continue typing in here. Now, if I've got everything where I'm going to go and say, let's say this was externally compiled and an audit was done. Here you can see is that optional that sometimes pops up. So if it is optional, you can go do the financial accountability supplement. Go and do that. It saves you time much faster than worrying about XBRL, even though Draftworx makes it super quick. But that document is quite simple to do. So I'm going to say that the MOI requires an audit, so we have to do XBRL. I can continue on from there. And then we head to a little questionnaire. And this is to help you if your client has a bunch of information that we need for XBRL and we haven't really got that info from the client, you can send it directly to them from cloud. So you can email it. You can just put in their email address. It's going to pre-write a little email for you, but you can type up your own details and so on. But essentially, they can send that back to you, and then you can simply upload it. Other than that, if you want to complete it right in Draftworx, you can simply open up the little questionnaire, and you can complete the details here. So this is the information that doesn't come from our client setup. It's a few additional things. So let's say, for example, I'm going to just enter the email address here. Let's say hello@draftworx.com, and we've got an email address now. So that's in. I can put in all of the other details. You'll see there's again the PI score calculator over here. I'm just going to save this. I'll show you where to fill in the rest of those. So I save it, and then I can close it. And I'm happy with my questionnaire that I filled out so far. Now I can hop on, and I'm going to go to my mandatory tagging. So you'll see at the top here, I can simply click on the little flow that we have here, and I'm going to say complete mandatory tags. And this is now going to show me a list very similar to the list you would have seen from Clarissa's side, where it shows us a list of all of the tags that are essentially have to be completed for this entity. Now it does take time to load, because what we're doing is we're going to go and populate all of your figures automatically, or at least everything that we can on our side. Again, very similar to desktop, you'll see there's items that are marked as green, which means they're good to go. We don't even have to worry about them. And then there's item marked as red, and they need some revision and double checking. So a few simple things. So let's go take a look. We can go through, and we're going to say average number of employees, and we can say 100. So remember that this average number of employees, you want it to match up with that PI score calculating document that I had, because that's the PI score that I've now calculated. If I don't have it matching, you're going to end up with an error on the validation where it's going to say, listen, your PI score that you've given us doesn't calculate the same on our side, essentially. And they'll kick it back to you, and you just have to then fix up that PI score calculator. Anything that's red, I can complete in the manual override. As you can see, I've done that there, and here I can additionally go, let's say country. I haven't filled that in on my side, so I'll need to then go type that in. I've got customer code. As Clarissa said, this is the customer code that you are going to be submitting with. So it's your CIPC customer code that you submit with. Just type it in there, and then the dates. Again, similar to Clarissa's side, make sure that your dates match up. I can't have an approval of my financials and a publication of my financials before my audit is done, right? So you're going to get an error if I were to go and say my audit was completed on the 31st, but I published everything on the 30th. There's a little bit of a problem. So let's just log that nicely. Everything's in line. Everything happened on the same day, and we can continue from there. Declaration of signature by authorized director. This is a true false. It's simply saying, listen, the director did actually sign these financials. You're not just making it up. The reason for this is because we can't upload an actual signature to XBRL. They don't look at images or anything like that. And so we're just literally saying, okay, yes, the director actually did sign this. Description of nature of financial statements. What financial statements are these? Well, they're simply annual financial statements, so we're going to just copy that across and put that in there. You can see there's my little email. So that came through from that questionnaire that I filled in. So it wouldn't have been in my Draftworx client setup. It's also not on my financials anywhere. But as I completed that questionnaire, that information goes through. Going down a little bit further, here we can see our maximum number of individuals. Again, this one is one of our important ones because it needs to match up with our PI score calculator. So make sure that's the same. And then we get to an interesting one. And this one says tag to a hidden cell. So it has been tagged, and you'll see if we look at these tick marks, it says tagged and it has been done. Some of these others are not tagged. You'll see the postal address. This one's not been tagged yet. But this one's been tagged, but it's still red. And the reason for this is we only send tags through to Subsea if that data is actually showing in your financials. So in this case, that data is not showing, and that's why it's warning me. It's saying this data exists, but it's been tagged to a hidden cell. So how do we fix that? Well, we need to change the tagging, or we can overwrite. So I've got two options here. Either I can go and say, okay, Christo signed or took responsibility for these financials, and 100% we're good to go. So that's option one. Option two, however, is we can go and change the tagging. So let's go and do that. I want to show you guys how to do that. So you'll see we've got a little button here that says show hide financials. So I don't need to hop back to the financials or anything like that. I'm just going to click on this little button. And it now splits my screen in two. And it actually goes and loads up my financial statements. So on the left, we're still going to have the long tag list that we need to complete. But on the right-hand side, we're now going to have our financial statements, and we can start looking through this, figuring out where the tags are and where they should be, and all those kind of things. So you'll see here's my financials. I can click through them, make sure that everything looks fine. Again, if I want, you can expand this box a little bit if you want to use up more space for your financial side. But now, how do we find this tag? So I need to find this tag, and I mean, the financials are relatively long. I'm not going to go search through all of this. So very easy. If you double click on the tag on the left-hand side, it jumps you to where that tag is. So you'll see there it is, reviewed by, and it's actually blank at the moment anyway. And you can see the blue little lines going across it. So we remember that means that this is actually then a hidden row, and that's why we're getting this warning. So let's change this. This is anyway blank, so there's no use I try and like show it now because, well, there's no information in there anyway. So let's fix this up. So what I can do is I can select the tag on the left. So you'll see there's a little tick mark. And now what I can do is on my financial side, I just select the actual cell where it currently is tagged. And you'll see this actually changed at the top. Now, the guys that have been looking, you can see at the top, it changes as soon as I hit that tag. And the reason for that is because the system knows that it currently is an existing tag. So it says that the name of individual responsible is already tagged to, and then the cell G63. So I'm going to say clear tag. So let's clean that up. We're going to clear it. And that's perfectly fine. You can see it's no longer red. And at the bottom here, we now have an untagged name of individual responsible for the prep of these financials. So let's go find that person. So in this case, I'm going to go to my report of the compiler. They compiled these financials. We're going to go to where they signed per, and I'm going to go and tag that. You might just want to take out the per, just to leave it as Christo. That you can do on the financials yourself. But essentially now you can see the tagging's been done. So again, just to show that clearly, I did the tagging, I selected it again. I select the cell, and then you can see it again at the top here. It gives me a little statement saying we're now going to tag that name of responsible individual to the D47 cell, and we can create tag. And there you go, it tags it across. So it's a nice way to do it. Very simple. Does the tagging for me relatively quickly. Now, right after this, we have another interesting cell. So other comprehensive income. And again, you can see there's actually a value in this tagging. You can see if we look at the tick marks, there is actually a tag. If I double click on it, it's going to jump us to here. And okay, we can see here that there was no other comprehensive income for the year, which makes sense. Okay, there's no other comprehensive income for this client. So 0 is correct as the tagging, and yet it's still red. And that's because SIPC essentially require us to then put in a footnote as to the reason why this tagging or this value is 0. They're essentially saying we expect the value to be here. You need to tell us why it isn't. And again, you'll see it's marked. It says reason for 0 value provided. You can just click on that. And I'm just going to say there was no other comprehensive income for the year. Very simple. And there you go. It goes green and we're good to go. So we can continue on from here. I'm going to actually close the financials again. I don't require them. And I'm going to just continue on. So let's say next one, postal address, same as business address. Very easy. Yes, it was. We're going to go through professional designation of the person that has to prepare these financials. So select whatever that person is. Public interest score. Again, remember what we calculated earlier. So this was 116. Our third-party liabilities, we made 1 million. And our turnover, we made 10 million. Remember, as Clarissa said, with these two, they are unique calculations. They don't come straight from your revenue on your statement of comprehensive income. They do have some regulation around them, so please be sure that you go and calculate that and time it in. And that's also why we don't auto-populate it, because there's that uniqueness to it. On your side. Going on from there, type of assurance, very simply, we're just going to say these are audited, and the type of company, we're going to say, okay, this is a domestic private company. And then my list of tags are complete. So done and dusted. Next thing we can go and do is we can actually go preview the submission. So we can click here or at the top here, and it goes through and it previews my submission. Now this is the same as essentially previewing on desktop side. It gives you a little bit of an idea of what's been tagged, everything. If you're interested in taking a look at it, you're welcome to. So you'll see it's going to load for a second or two, and then it looks like our standard print preview, but there are some items that are just highlighted in red, essentially indicating that they have been tagged. So let's scroll through. You'll see here, it's actually tagging a whole sheet. So our director's responsibilities have been tagged a whole sheet, so the whole thing is red. If we go through the rest of the items, we can see, there you go. If we go to our statement of financial position, there you can actually see the individual tags. And if you hover over it, it gives you the value, the time when it's being submitted for, and all kinds of things. You don't really have to worry about this. If you want to dig into it, you're welcome to take a look. XBRL is quite a thing. But yeah, that's just pretty much my preview. Not much to worry about there. If I'm done with that, I'm going to just go and validate. As Clarissa said, CIPC has got a few issues today. We'll see if it loads. I assume it won't if I run the Biz portal. Yeah, it doesn't look like they are recovered just yet. But that's okay. We're all good. So what I'm going to do, I've got a little screenshot here. Just make sure you guys can check it. This is essentially how the validation looks. Same concept as what Clarissa showed. But essentially what we have here is either some warnings, some errors, or validated results. Fortunately, it is just a screenshot. I can't scroll through this to show you guys extra info. But yeah. It just produces a report. You can go and take a look. If you have warnings, as Clarissa mentioned, just submit. They accept it with the warnings. Not really a major issue. It's just errors that you really have to worry about. You can try and read their errors and warnings they give back. It takes a little bit of understanding to figure out what they mean, because they are speaking another language. They're speaking XBRL. And so we don't always understand it. But if you don't know what to do, pop onto our support. we are all fluent in XBRL at Draftworx. Over the years, we've actually learned how to speak it, and so we'll be able to tell you what your error is and how to fix it. Oh, there you can actually see I got a validation error over here where it's actually telling me CIPC is offline. So this is back to my live file on our side. So once you've validated, if you come back without issue or anything like that, you can go to the download submission. And okay, obviously over here, I've got a validation incomplete. Usually this should all be completed, and then you can simply download. It downloads that XBRL straight to your computer. You can, depending how your web browser is set up, you can choose to save, or it's going to go to your default folder. But yeah, as simple as that, to be honest. Once our download's complete, the one thing that we've seen a few times before, the download that actually gets downloaded, you'll see it comes with a company name along with a bunch of numbers and so on. Don't change that date or the numbers. So you can see here, I've got my file, and let me quickly go and grab it. Let me just show it here. So there I've got my file. It's got the company name, and then you can see it's got that 2008, a bunch of numbers. So don't change that. It is a requirement from SIPC to have that same format of wording and so on. Otherwise, they'll kick it out with an error as well. Other than that, that's all from my side for cloud. I mean, it's in there. There are some big updates coming to XBRL this year from the cloud team. We need to bring in the changes that XBRL requires, similar to what Clarissa has shown you, where they check the calculations and do all those fun things. And that's going to be coming into cloud at a later stage this year. But for now, this is exactly how it works. And yeah, if you need anything else, please, as always, send us feedback. If you need support, send those support requests. We're always happy to help. That's all from me, Clarissa. Don't know if you want to finish up.
Thank you so much. And thank you for that, Christo. That was absolutely fabulous. This is totally out of what the session is about, but my husband is in IT, and he always gets very excited if he can tell me something about accounting or numbers or anything like that. So the other day he comes and he says, how would you explain the difference between millions, billions, and trillions to someone? And I start with my normal boring accounting answer. And he's just looking at me and he says, you know what? If you change 1 million seconds into days, it counts up to 12 days. If you take 1 billion seconds into, well, if you change 1 billion into seconds, so 1 billion seconds is 31 years. So now just imagine that difference. 1 million seconds is 12 days. 1 billion seconds is 31 years. And 1 trillion seconds is 31,688 years. How big is that difference? I'm sure you weren't expecting it to be that large. That blew my mind a little bit, made me think differently about numbers for a few minutes. So I thought I would share that today just to get the last poll running. I do see Christo laughing. I did it brilliantly, Christo. So yeah, he was doubting me. You don't doubt C. You just say yes, yes, C, you're right, you can do it. So
Never doubt you, see, never.
we are up to 56%.
It's going to take me a very long time to become a
Yeah.
trillionaire.
They're yes. Everybody's very undecided on how to proceed on this voting, but I do see there are just under 30 people that want to run away screaming. I don't think that's necessary. You can please use the remote support option. Shane, you're welcome to share that last screen with us.
Okay.
You will find remote support at the top left of your Draftworx screen. I'm sure that all of you know where to find that by now. And we will gladly help anything that you need help with XBRL, as Christy says, we can now speak XBRL. We've practiced a lot, but I'm happy to say that 70% of you feel more comfortable with XBRL and 20%, 100% more confident and comfortable. So I'm sure that you will not be using the remote support, but you are welcome to pop on just to say hi to us in any case. I'm just going to shut that poll down. I don't think there's really anything else left except to say thank you so much, Michelle, for taking care of the Q&A. I saw Nicole could also not leave that alone. She also answered a few. Thank you, Nicole.
Sorry.
And, thank you, Matsebo, for your great presentation. Shane, thank you. I'm just going down the line of images. Thank you for the presentation you always do. We love it. Thank you so much. And Christo, thank you for sharing Cloud. We really appreciate it. It is really phenomenally easy on Cloud as well. We don't leave anyone behind. And yes, I think please just shout if anybody needs something.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.